I want to talk about season 2, episode 1 of The Sopranos, and I want to focus on Janice and Barbara for this video. Janice is insane, bro, and the more the show goes on, she does crazier fucking shit. But rewatching it this time, I was just like, dude, you just feel bad for Janice. You realize how shitty her mom has been. She's the eldest daughter too, so it's just gonna be hard enough, right? But then I want to talk about with Tony with that relationship too. Is as a boy, he's gonna follow. He's gonna be a junior. He's gonna follow his dad, and Janice, as a woman, has no space in the mafia, right? She has no room in there for power. There's no reason for her to even try to do that. If she can, at best, she would end up like her mom, Livia, which is in that like master manipulator role. But again, that's not even allowed a position she was allowed until after Johnny passed. And even then, when Johnny passed, she lost all her power because the boss is gone. So really what you see is Janice coming in with all this hippy-dippy shit, right? And I say hippy-dippy in spirituality in that way because she's not truly connected to those ideas, right? You can tell that she's mastered the manipulation skills she's learned from her mom and her family and use that into gaining access to those spaces and gaining attention in those spaces. But again, when she returns to the family, she's only using it for attention. She's only using it halfway through. And it's kind of her best case scenario, right? Her stepping out, realizing she has no power in this hierarchy, unless she were to marry someone, and there's a character that she dates later, Richie, right? But unless she's marrying a guy with high status, she has no power. There's no space for her to have her own things to control and even really exist alone. So now I want to talk about Barbara. Barbara's barely in the show. I think she's in it like a handful of times. And she's the youngest too. She's younger than Tony. And the way that I think of it in my head before the show happened, Janice and Tony got the brunt of the hits of their parents. And Barbara was, able to, I guess, like kind of softly adjust. Like she had cushions, right, of Tony and Janice because of the experiences that they grew up with their parents. Barbara was able to be separate from these ideas. And even then, Barbara was able to find a partnership outside of the mob, connections outside of it. She was not as attached to it as Tony and Janice were because they were the first kids to experience it. And therefore, just like as the younger sibling, you get different variations of the parents that your older siblings got. And this is really the best case scenario for a woman, right? Is getting outside of the mob, getting somewhere outside. And again, still under patriarchy. We never like hear anymore about Barbara like that much to the extent of like how hard her life is, right? We know she has kids and a husband, but it's just she is the best case scenario for a woman, other than Artie's wife. And even then, they're kind of adjacent to the mob, but she's fully out of it. Please let me know your thoughts. Janice is gonna have a lot of great scenes, bro.